Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the special Halloween episode of the Pretty Good Podcast. Pretty Good Podcast 6?
Yeah. Hey. 666 because it's Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, so I see you're dressed as, you changed your costume from our last podcast.
I am Rick C137.
Nice.
From little show, I don't know if you ever heard of it, Rick and Morty.
Yeah. The Simpsons. Everybody's
the
favorite
costume I've ever bought.
Craig, have you said you've changed from your ninja costume, but
yes, I'm now the Resident Evil 4 merchant. Hello, stranger.
What are you buying?
What are you selling?
Got something that might interest you.
I got these video games.
Ranger.
And you may think I did not change my costume, and you'd be wrong. I am now a
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
French mime.
Boo. I tried to get you back in your Joker costume.
So it's not that I wouldn't put the Joker costume on. It's that I don't have any like face paint or hairspray. So
Well,
like,
actually, we have a picture of you in the Joker face paint. I think you were like sleeping, maybe.
Oh, God.
So, Lucas, can you put that in the edit so they know what it looks like?
No, I have that written down. There was a legendary Halloween party that I hosted, and we all chose, I'm Rick from that party, because we chose like cringy costumes, like, you know, characters that just people won't shut up about, which I do like Rick and Morty. It's a good show. But Matt chose the Joker and
well,
you did the full like face paint, the hair, everything.
Maybe sometimes I feel like the Joker.
You know, we live in a
society. Yes. Mm-hmm.
But you know, we had a Halloween party, and Matt spent the night at my house. Went to sleep in full Joker makeup.
I may or may not have been very intoxicated.
It's an iconic picture. You can't really even articulate why, but once you see it, you can't forget it.
I fell asleep in full Joker makeup, but I took the suit off, so I'm in like a white undershirt under the covers.
It looks hilarious.
Pretty sure I'm in my boxers, but you can't see those. I got the covers on and a white undershirt, and then the face paint and the green hair too. So,
ladies and gentlemen, I present you Matt in his Joker costume sleeping.
I hate you.
So I wasn't even gonna bring that up. Craig brought that up. It is Halloween time. Do you guys remember trick-or-treating as kids? I went around always looking for the house, giving the biggest damn candy bars. And I created this costume when I was a kid because I could never afford to go out and buy like a new costume. So I made what I called the ass burglar. It was a vampire cape, a Guitar Hero controller, a burglar mask with a big fake nose, and a blonde long wig underneath that. And I used to go around telling everyone I was going to burgle their ass.
Hey, the ass burglar, a.k.a. the Spartan.
Damn.
No DW talk.
No
deadliest warrior talk.
What was the best costume or your favorite that you had as a kid?
Oh, man. My grandma used to make me some really good ones when I was like little. Like she made me a Hercules one. That was probably the best, like highest quality costume I've ever had. As far as favorites though, I don't know. Whatever got me the candy, you know. I Viking some years. I did. I was one year I was a generic superhero called like the Masked Avenger or something, and every old person thought I was a bumblebee. They're like, what are you, a bumblebee? And I was like, no, I'm the Masked Avenger. His costume was like black and yellow or whatever, so he did.
Shout out to Wiz.
Yeah, hey, shout out Wiz, come on the pod, dog.
Wiz, come on. Yeah. Ever heard of him?
Yeah, I had two that stick out. One was when I was younger, I had a sick Yu-Gi-Oh costume. I think I had my dual disc.
Nice.
Too. And
nice.
it was like this, Yu-Gi's making this face. He's like it's really stupid looking face.
Yeah.
Was it like the plastic mask that?
Yeah, that I could barely breathe in. I was
oh yeah.
Like it was tough to go around it, but that was cool.
So on the topic of costumes, so I loved the Halo games, of course, and I always wanted to go. There was one part of me when I was younger, always wanted to go as Master Chief, and I'm so glad I never did because there is no cool way to dress as Master Chief unless you get like an expensive costume. You see those adult costumes, they come in a fucking like crate at Spirit Halloween. I look at the picture on those things with a supermodel, in the costume, and I'm like, that guy looks like shit. This costume is like $300, and it's just like, you look terrible in it.
It's like skin tight or something, and I feel like you have to be like so jacked to wear that.
Yeah, like either it comes with a muscle suit or it's a bunch of plastic armor, and then it always comes topped with the gigantic stupid helmet that you put on, so your head looks 3 times larger than the rest of your body. And I'm like, unless you're like a professional cosplayer, you can't do the Master Chief or it looks like shit.
Yeah, I feel like that's true for a lot of costumes. But on the topic of video game, though, the other costume I had, and when I was probably like, I think I was a freshman in high school. It was a simple costume, but I think I did a good job. I was Cliff from Dead Rising, he's a character. He's like this Vietnam vet who has these flashbacks, and he has like this cool machete. If you Google Cliff Dead Rising, he's like a pretty iconic
I'll throw
boss.
a picture up.
Yeah, he's an iconic boss in that game, but I was him. I cut up a flannel shirt. My mom helped me, and then I had like blood all over me and this bloody machete, so it was cool. It was pretty accurate.
I'm just picturing Bill from Left 4 Dead. I got some pills here.
Yeah. He's voiced by Steve Bloom, who was in probably like half these games. So
That we will get to. The dumbest costume I think I ever had, I had a fat ballerina costume where it was one of those ones where it had like the little...
All right.
like the most Lucas costume.
Listen, if my Joker picture's going up, you got to put on your fat ballerina
I
costume.
do have it. It had that like the same thing the T-Rex costumes have now where it has that like loud fan. So you're in the costume, you put the batteries in, it's... like is running the whole...
And you close your eyes at night and you're like, can hear it. Like, trying to go to
You're
sleep.
knocking everything off the shelf also too. You're like just obnoxious.
I do have a costume that I enjoyed very much. It was when I was in college. There was one night that my friend and I went out bar hopping. It was just the two of us. He dressed as like the Grim Reaper, and I was Jesus Christ. And I had like...
Ever heard of him?
You've seen... It's this... They have the same Jesus costume at Spirit Halloween to like this day. Like, it's just one piece like white robe with a red sash, and then I wore like sandals and a big fake wig with a big fake beard that went like over my nose. And I remember we went out and we went to this bar. If you're in an area that had a tilted kilt when they existed.
Yeah.
It was like a knockoff Hooters kind of.
But sadder.
And we won best costume at the tilted kilt, and it was because no one knew who we were. And I stayed in character the entire night.
Wait, you were Jesus?
Yeah.
No one knew who Jesus was.
Well, no one... Like, even though we had been to that bar before, no one knew who like we were. Like, the people there didn't recognize us. So
Underneath all that hair.
Yeah, and
beard.
we stayed in character, and my friend was in a mask, so they couldn't tell who he was, and he just stayed fucking silent the entire night, which was great. He would just stay silent and just go like this, and like, as Jesus, I was just feeding people one-liners. I was like. I can't even remember, and it probably sucked. Probably a lot. It's a lot funnier in my memory than it was. So
Now you said you got it from Spirit. Do you remember how much you paid for that
like
costume?
definitely like $100.
Dude, I love
least.
Spirit has the same shit. Sponsor us. I love how they have the same shit every year, and it's like $70 for like a coat, or like $40 for just like a vest.
Any costume I've gotten at Spirit has definitely like ended up costing me at least like $100.
I want to say this Rick and Morty coat was like $50 just for the coat, and
Yeah.
like the wig was like another 30.
Yeah, we
or
bought
something.
that together. Like, I was with you when you got that, and I was like, maybe I can be Morty. And we took a look at the Morty costumes, and I was like, maybe our friend Adam can be Morty.
It's
and
just
of
a
course,
guy in a yellow shirt.
I sent him the picture of the Morty costume, which was a yellow T-shirt and a like your Yu-Gi-Oh mask, but it was Morty's face. and Adam was like, yeah, I don't think so.
Well, but he went as a much better costume though.
His costume, I mean, it was better
It
than
was
Morty.
like homemade.
Yeah.
Was he like?
Ron Swanson.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was gonna say Bob's Burgers.
Yeah. Bob's Burgers.
So Halloween coming up this week. You can't escape Halloween without talking about your favorite horror movies of all
Oh,
time.
jeez.
I know mine. Right now, I'm inclined to say The Conjuring 1. I think that is like one of the most scary movies they ever put out. I don't really buy into the whole like demonology and like Ed and Lorraine Warren seem a little crazy in real life, but that movie is just a damn good horror movie.
It's fun to watch the movie and just pretend it's real, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta think. I love horror movies, so I really have to think about
What type of genre do you like slasher, thriller?
I'd say definitely my favorite type of horror actually is like sci-fi. Like I love aliens. I recently watched a movie that's very alien inspired called Event Horizon. If any of you watched that, it's amazing movie where they're in space and they find a derelict spaceship, but instead of finding an alien there, they find a portal to hell. And it's awesome. So it's as great
And
as
your friends there not talking.
Yeah, it legitimately was like a lot of fun. Other horror movies. I mean, I like the Conjuring movies.
I did until the third one. The third one that just came out, and we watched it together. Big letdown.
Insidious legitimately creeped me out.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
The first Insidious, it legitimately creeped me out until it got to, you know what I'm talking about, when it gets to, they say the demon's name. And I'm sorry for everyone who likes this movie because I'm about to ruin it for you. So they bring on Vincent D'onofrio, who is a famous Italian actor. He's an American Italian, but he plays Kingpin in Daredevil. He played Private Pile in Full Metal Jacket. Well, he is like a college professor in this movie. And Ethan Hawke's the main character, and he gets on like a FaceTime with Vincent D'onofrio, and he's like showing him all this like evidence that he's got. And he's like, "What is the demon that's in my house?" And Vincent D'onofrio goes, "It appears you're dealing with a demon named Bagul." And he says it with such like an American Italian thing. It sounds like gabagool.
Bagul.
It sounds like gabagool. And then he proceeds to say, "It appears you have a bagul problem."
Well, did they say that in the movie? I think it's just the Red Letter Media.
You think we just made that up?
I think it's the Red Letter Media joke. I don't think he says it, but that's
okay.
like what he's like. He's like, well, they say it in the Red Letter Media. I don't want to take credit,
It's been so long, I've forgotten that that's a Red Letter Media bit.
Yeah.
We would say that all the time. And when I watched the movie again recently, I was like, this movie is creepy as fuck. And then he came on screen and goes, "Bagul," and I was like, oh my God, I'm not creeped out anymore. I don't care.
Yeah, because it's like just classic ruining like the monster. It's just like, yeah, you got a Bagul problem.
It's a demon named Bagul.
Yeah.
Named Gabagool. He goes well with prosciutto.
Yeah. I think personally, like, I feel like there's one I'm forgetting.
Isn't that what Gabagool is prosciutto? I'm sorry.
It's a demon.
Oh, it's Capicola is Gabagool. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
Horror movies.
Yeah. I think in terms of like a more traditional horror movie, I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the first time on
original.
Yeah. And my girlfriend, she keeps fucking buying a year's worth of Shudder by accident. So she'll spend $60. So I'm like, well, we got to watch this at least a few times because you keep fucking spending $60 on the year membership. And that was on there. I mean, pretty much every scene in that movie was ruined for me, but it's still cool to see like how they put it together. And like, I can't imagine watching that for the first time, not knowing and like being like, is this real? Like, so
I will add a good bad horror movie. So it's not scary at all, but it'll make you laugh your ass off. Is The Bye Bye Man. If you've ever watched The Bye Bye Man, it's incredible.
The worst horror movie ever made that was a genuine attempt. It was modeled after The Birds. It's called Birdemic.
Oh yeah.
And
I think it's supposed to be like a B movie though. I think they're like,
no, the first one was dead serious. After that, they embraced like that it was, like a cult classic. I'm pulling, some strings here. I am friends with the main actor from that movie on Facebook, Alan Baugh. Come on the podcast, man.
Dude.
He used to send me happy birthday every year, and I was like, yo, yeah, happy birthday from the actor from Birdemic, man.
Oh, shout out. But the other horror movie I would say, and some people may not classify this as a horror movie, but I would, is Green Room. Who's in that? Who's like the
Anton
Patrick Stewart.
Anton Yelchin's in that.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, and Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, and that's a movie that is like gives you like it's scarier than I think most horror movies, and it's not even like a traditional horror movie. Like the plot is like there's like this band that they're like on tour and they accidentally play at like a neo-Nazi. I don't know if it's by accident, but they play at like this biker club.
Yeah, they're like a left-wing punk rock band.
Yeah, and so they play at this like
biker club.
Yeah, racist biker club, and they end up I forget why get trapped in like the green room there, and it's a very much a situation movie where it's like what would you do in this scenario, and they try this and they try that, and those are really I think interesting horror movies is like because then you can kind of put yourself in that situation of like, well, what would I do? And it's definitely more of a thriller, but I would probably say it's like horror because it's fucking scary. There's some fucked up scenes.
As far as the classic slashers go, so the original Nightmare on Elm Street is a pretty good movie, a pretty good podcast.
Does it hold up?
I would say it holds up.
Because a lot of them, some of them really don't hold up.
The original Halloween, I would say holds up pretty well.
It's not as like scary as you might. Well, it's not as like
No.
it's not gory really, but
Sure.
it's like it's more of a thriller, I would say.
And I watched the original 2 Friday the 13th movies and terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. I'm telling you, I know some people out there love Jason, and I was told by a Friday the 13th fan that I have to watch the third one because that's when he gets the mask and that's when it gets a little more schlocky. And I just think if I got to watch the third movie in the series, you know, what are we doing? Those first 2, I'm sorry. They get like some of the best reviews of any of the movies in the series. Not scary, really bad. They've aged really bad. And the second one, the lore makes absolutely no... I know that's a nerdy thing to say, but the lore makes no fucking sense. Like, they just bring Jason back to life and...
His whole backstory and how he keeps coming back and how they, like, re-justify it.
Jason
gets, like,
Jason
dumber
is...
and dumber.
He's a Michael Myers ripoff.
Yeah.
And I just, like... The only good Jason movie, and I can say this even though I haven't seen hardly any of them, is Jason X, where he is cryogenically, like, frozen and he wakes up in like the year like 10,000 or whatever and he's on a spaceship. It's like a sci-fi horror movie except it's terrible.
Does he walk around with a machete on the spaceship?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he butchers people on the spaceship and then eventually, you know, he fights a cyborg lady and he gets thrown into... I'm spoiling this whole thing because this movie's like terrible. He gets thrown into like a nanotech machine and like becomes super Jason, and that's the best one because the director realized what he was working with and didn't give a
Just
fuck.
didn't care.
Yeah, he was like, fuck you, I'm making this stupid movie.
I recently watched It Follows.
It's a funny movie.
Pretty good. And pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the original It at all?
The original It. No.
Everyone just says it's boring.
Yeah.
I used to watch it all the time as a kid.
Mhm.
And did you ever see it? The original? Okay. That's weird because I always had this like skewed view where I watched the original It all the time when I was a kid, and then the new ones came out. And the old one is boring. It was a TV special, I think, originally, and it's like 3 hours long, but I don't know, I have like really fond memories of it, and then every time I go back and try to rewatch it, it just doesn't live up.
Yeah.
Did you see the new It? I know you've probably seen both.
I mean, I saw both the new ones, yeah.
Did you like them?
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, I thought
The first one I enjoyed because like it was a lot funner watching the kids go through it because all this scary shit's happening to them and they have no idea what's going on and they have to like get on their bicycles and figure it out. And I'm like, this is kind of scary and it's just fun to watch them. And I had a lot less fun watching the adults in like the second one.
yeah.
Because I was like, I mean, the second one was fine, and I know a lot of people like it, but I was just kind of like, I felt a lot more suspense with the kiddies.
Because if you had like picture yourself as a kid with like
Yeah.
this thing attacking you, I do not find clowns scary whatsoever.
No.
I don't have that like phobia at all. So like the whole premise of it, like where it takes that form, is kind of like to me.
Sure.
But the dude, is his name Bill Skarsgård or
Yeah,
something like that?
Skarsgård. Yep.
Where he does that like eye stuff and
Oh,
everything.
yeah,
Like,
he's
he
a
looks so
weirdo.
creepy, dude.
Yeah, he can do some weird shit, and he does like that lip roll thing. He like makes his mouth into a triangle somehow. Like, yeah, I can't. It's like, and then like crosses.
Come on the
his eyes.
podcast and do that for us.
Yeah, Bill Skarsgård, come on the pod.
So that leads me into, there are some good horror games that I love too. And I can't remember if we've talked about it on this podcast or not. PT being like one of the best horror games that was never actually
There's no
made.
way you've never talked about Resident Evil on this podcast.
Oh, I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
But my
What are you
number
buying?
one, I'm going to give you the recommendation right now since it's Halloween, game to play that like shaped my childhood. One of the earliest like horror games that I played is right here. My copy of Zombies Ate My Neighbors. This was for the Sega Genesis. It had a sequel, Gold Patrol, I think was on Super Nintendo, I want to say. one of the best games, and they just re-released it this year on Xbox Marketplace. I think it's supposed to be on PSN, but I cannot find it. But it is on Steam. They re-released it in like a double pack with that in Ghoul Patrol. Really good game if you want to play like an old like arcadey, Nintendo and a Sega era game. Freaking awesome. But that does lead me into the next thing, the games that shaped our childhood.
Off the topic of horror and into...
Well, I mean, I got a horror one on there.
Yeah.
I'll go first. I cannot think of a better game that I like constantly replayed, and I could not find for the life of me my original PS2 copy of Resident Evil 2, so I just brought in my steel case of the remake. This is the hardest jacket in the world to like function in. Dude, I brought in my Resident Evil 2 steel case right here. Out of all the Resident Evils that's ever come out, Resident Evil 2 was like the first one that I really remember like really enjoying as a kid. And it has the tank controls that everyone hates. But if you go back and play the original Resident Evil 2, it's still like really awesome to this day. The original Mr. X and everything in the original RPD. But most people can't tolerate that. That right there, that remake that they did like 2019 or whatever they put that out. Really, really good remake of like updated controls and everything. I want to make you play that.
I never played the game, but I saw Resident Evil 2, the movie with Mila Jovovich.
I'm gonna move on.
That probably counts, right? You play as Alice, right?
I'm gonna move on from, but I couldn't decide. I mean, the original Resident Evil 3 was also really good, but the remake that they did cut out the entire clock tower thing.
If we can get to 1K subscribers, Lucas, can I get you to watch those Resident Evil movies?
I've tried to watch them, and I cannot watch them.
You just get too triggered as a fan.
The first one tries to stick to the plot of the first movie, but they change like a shit ton of stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
after that,
they
nothing.
just go
Just nothing to do. What is honestly better if you want to follow like the Resident Evil lore, they have like animated movies that follow Leon and Claire, Degeneration, and there's a new one that just came out. I can't remember. Those are honestly better movies.
Nah. You guys check it out. Resident Evil 5 Sir Comes a Lot or whatever the fuck it's called.
Hey. But Resident Evil 4 was also a strong contender for that. I want to cover that a little bit later. The next game on my list of my childhood greatest games, I could not decide between Twisted Metal Black and Twisted Metal 2.
Nice.
I feel like I used to play Twisted Metal 2 all the time when I was a kid, but then Twisted Metal Black came out. And that game... Let's see what it says on the back. I think I want to say 2001.
Which one is it that has Rob Zombie's Dragula?
That is like 4.
Okay, because I
Can I see
played.
that real quick?
Yeah.
I played that one.
That is my OG copy.
I played that one a ton.
This says the official website for Twisted Metal Black is www.blacked.com. Do they still own that domain?
Here, somebody search it up real quick.
Someone go on blacked.com to see if it's still owned by Sony. So
I doubt it. That game is one of the most re-released. That is on every generation of console. That is the most re-released, like one of the most re-released games.
Yeah.
2001. I was like 6 or 7 when that came out.
I just remember playing with my friend on split screen and just hearing dig through the ditches and burn through the witches.
That was 4, and that was produced by 989 Studios, not Incognito. That's a whole thing. But I was like 6, 7 years old. My parents bought me that game because I wanted it so bad, and that is the one that got the rated M rating. Yeah. And I'm like a little kid, and I load this up, and the first thing you like select Sweet Tootsy's like, 3 months in the nut house since I killed that motherfucker. And I'm just like, holy shit.
3 months in the nut house. It was the longest I'd ever been confined. So a few people had been killed.
cover makes it look like a horror game. That's what I always thought that it was.
It is one of the darkest games you'll ever like. If you ever go like the whole
just driving around in a car, it's like Matchbox. But
but the Twisted Metal Black compared to like what Twisted Metal 2 and everything was is super dark, and like
this horror movie has a lot of car levels. Yeah,
everyone's like serial killers in that game, and everyone's like dropping F-bombs and shit. That is a really dark game to this day, and I cannot believe I played it at the young age that I did.
Yeah.
So we got Time Splitters also, which Time Splitters Rewind will hopefully come out one of these days.
Hell yeah. We've been waiting 10 years.
Me and Matt used to play this. My online name is based off of this game.
Yeah.
One of the first games out for PlayStation 2. Maybe they'll make a fourth one eventually. And then last, I've played the Elder Scrolls games pretty much my entire life.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite, I got to give it to Oblivion. I have played Daggerfall. I've played Arena. I've played Morrowind. I've played Oblivion. All of them. This one's the best. Coming straight from me.
It's not Skyrim.
Skyrim's good. It's not as good as Oblivion, in my opinion. I think I've said that on this podcast before too, because I went back and replayed that recently.
I recently found a channel on YouTube that's a lot of fun. I forget his channel name, but I actually liked the video, so I can look it up. But the video is he's like, I kill the Ebony Warrior every day until Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. So I caught it on day one, like it had just started. His channel name is Wicked Wind, all one word, and it's slaying the Ebony Warrior every week. Shut up. Pronamel ad. Slaying the Ebony Warrior every week until Elder Scrolls 6, in parentheses, week 1. The top comment is, we got a long road ahead, big guy.
They had like a teaser trailer back in like 2017. That was what, like 4 years ago now for the game.
Got a long road ahead, big guy. So,
That's funny.
Who wants to talk about some games that shaped their childhood?
I guess I'll go next. So some of them, I'll go over the ones I have here, and then there's some that, at least one that I don't have the case for still, that I'll cover. So first one, Sly Cooper in general, I picked the third one because it's like one of the best like ends to a trilogy. Of course, they like make a fourth one, and it kind of ruins everything. But awesome sequel. This string of games does not get nearly enough credit for what it is in terms of like.
They did an HD remake of those, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't really do much to them, but it was nice to play them. It is on PlayStation now. I was bitching before about how you can't download it or buy it. You have to stream it, which is really fucking annoying. But it's the remake, so you have all 3 games on there. And like, if you haven't played these, they're not long and they hold up super, super well. The voice acting is like. So this game's, I mean, it's a classic, but I think it still doesn't get enough credit. Also, this third one, I remember reading about it in Nick Magazine of all places, and it came with 3D glasses, and there were these like 3D segments. As a kid, I was like, holy shit. So that was really cool. Creative. Yeah. This other one, Rogue Galaxy, this has gotten more and more like recognition I've noticed in years. So I wouldn't really call this like, it's kind of a cult classic, but it's this really cool JRPG where you're like a space pirate. My favorite game of all time that I almost brought, but I wanted to kind of highlight maybe slightly lesser known games, is Dragon Quest VIII. And this was probably the first game that I played that was like super similar to that in a lot of ways. It's more action, it's not turn-based, but super cool RPG. I liked it a lot. I don't know if I said it's also on PlayStation now. This one you actually can download, thank God.
Yeah.
And then
PlayStation now getting a W finally.
Yeah. And this, okay, little bit of ruining the magic. I played Tenkaichi 3 as an adult later on, but this is mainly to represent like the Dragon Ball games because I think they're super interesting. I'd maybe like to do a video on this and like at some point, but
absolutely with you because I played like Budokai 1 through 3 and Tenkaichi 1 through 3 also and Sagas, and there's a million of them.
Well, I think what's so interesting about Dragon Ball is it's such a crazy like source material that every single person who makes a Dragon Ball game struggles to accurately represent it in some way. Like you have like the Budokai games, which are way more competent fighting games, but you can't really do as much. Then you have the Tenkaichi games, which like there's so many different controls and options to reenact these battles, but the controls are a fucking like insane nightmare. So like just all through history, they've been trying to get a nice balance of like representing the show and also a fun game. And I think it's a super interesting case study of like.
I think that's the closest they came because that has the fullest roster. I used to have that game for the Wii, and I think our friend RJ still has it. And I tried to I bought that for the PlayStation 2 as an adult. It was like $80 fucking.
Yeah, this game is still like $60 like aftermarket.
I remember playing one of those Dragon Balls with RJ since you brought him up. RJ, shout out, longtime listener of the. He also hosts the First Time Fantasy podcast.
Long time holder of my Wii Tenkaichi 3 copy.
He had me play one of these games with him, and I had never played it before. And he's like, "Yeah, just come on, you'll learn." Did not teach me a single control. Proceeded to beat the shit out of me for like the next half hour on the game. And then I was like, Yeah, I don't want to play this anymore. What? Why? Come on. All right. So here's the deal. Kaioken, you got to hold down the button and like you can charge up. And I'm like, what is that? You know, I like haven't seen the show. And he's like, okay, so you got Kaioken times 1, Kaioken times 2, Kaioken times 3. I'm like,
But don't go above 3.
I'm like, can we play Call of Duty or something?
Yeah.
I want you to know, you just had your experience. You're an only child, and I grew up with an older brother.
Yeah.
You got your older brother experience right there, where they
Yeah.
just kick your shit
Don't.
in like a game, and you're like, I don't get it, and you just keep beating you. You're
Dude.
like, can we play something else?
Quick side note, I love this story. So my dad would fucking do that shit to me with Madden. Like I was like a little kid, and he would be like, "You want to play Madden with me?" And he would just like beat my ass, and then like
Then
I
play
would
Madden?
Well, I would
Stomp
cry.
you. Yeah.
And then I got like some Madden for Xbox 360, and I fucking did not tell him how to play at all, and I like ran the score up on him, and then he quit at halftime, and I was like, fuck you, old man. I was so happy. It was like this perfect cycle. He's like, oh, good game, you won.
You're like,
I was like,
I am the captain now.
yeah, I was like, it was
Look
such
at
a
me.
moment.
Look at me.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my older dad moment.
Nice.
So yeah, I was going to say something else. Oh, this still has, I think, the world record for the most characters in a fighting game.
Bro, it's ridiculous.
Because
how
they
many
count
characters
like
they
the
have.
different forms of the characters as different
Yeah.
characters, so it's kind of cheating. But like, it also proves with anime games in particular, like based on licensed like shows and stuff, that the character count is one of the most important things. It doesn't matter how fucking busted the game is. Like, character count is so important.
Yeah, you want to play as your guy.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
You want to
So-
play as your favorite character.
If this had like 30 characters, people
friend.
would think this game sucked. But because it has like everybody, at least at the time it was
It's like
made,
sought after. That game is like
yeah, but just
sought
because of the
after now.
characters, and people mod it and put in like Beerus and shit. So yeah, I put that in here.
Cool.
And the only other one I wanted to mention that is not here, I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about it, but I still don't think I have the case to show it, is online people call it, just to avoid confusion, Spider-Man 2000.
RuneScape.
No.
Oh, I remember that Spider-Man game.
So it's a Spider-Man game. It was on PC, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Dreamcast, I think. And that game, like as a kid, I like memorized like every single line in that game, and I was like, I must like this game a lot. I go online, people like know the script just as well as I do. I think there's something about like the script and the voice acting that's so iconic. Every like line is like memorable. It's crazy. And that game is like, has a great cast of like villains they pick from. It's just like perfect. Levels are like super well designed. There's a lot of cool Easter eggs. They have like a what if mode. Like shout out to What If. I didn't watch it, but shout out to What If. And they like do weird stuff to the levels because like the What If comics. and-
Yo, what if Ultron fought Baby Yoda? What would happen?
yeah, pretty much. But
One game.
Do you like that I bring Baby Yoda up in every podcast?
No.
yeah.
Gotta say, he's hot.
Yeah. But that game is awesome. Also, the sequel, which is not nearly as good.
Got the Viking
Wh-
helmet on.
Yeah. I didn't notice that. The sequel is not nearly as good. Is made by Treyarch, which is I remember
really?
as an adult, I was
No
like, "What the
shit.
fuck? Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
It was
Did they
so
make
weird.
anything notable?
All the Call of Duty. Half the
Maybe
Call
like
of
one of
Duty
the most
games.
successful game franchises of
Yeah.
all time.
The game I wanted to mention that I didn't bring in because I couldn't find it and I already brought in too many because I was like the limit is 3 and I already brought in 4, actually 5.
Yeah.
Devil May Cry 1.
Okay.
That I did play the shit out of that. And a fun fact for you, that was the original that started as Resident Evil 4 because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan and that's what got me to buy the first Devil May Cry when I was a kid. It was the original, what they started as Resident Evil 4 became that. That is like one of the most perfect, like if you're into like gothic castles and like crazy like demons and Devil May Cry 1. The rest of them, maybe 5 is okay. 2, 3, blah blah. 3's okay. The rest don't care. 1, play Devil May Cry 1.
Did he cry?
No,
He might.
at the end,
I
spoiler.
cry.
At the end, he changes his store's name to Devil Never Cry.
Wow. All right. Well,
Isn't that cool?
sounds like a good game. Sorry, I'm just being a dick. So I guess to walk through my games, it's hard to pick. It's hard to narrow it down. I guess I would say back in the early days, I played like Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, and Game Boy. And, you know, I got to give a shout out to the Pokemon games on
That sounds like a good game.
the Pokemon games on Game Boy, you know, OG, lots of fun. You could hook it up. I remember the first time I hooked up like the plug in with another Game Boy Advance and we traded Pokemon and I could see his character moving around on screen. I was like, oh my God, this is
Me and
incredible.
RJ used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
I was too scared to trade anything, which is like a core part of the game. I'm like, they're my Pokemon.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I totally missed out on that.
Yeah, and I'd go to try fight Articuno or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you need the Master Ball or whatever, and I only got one. And anyways, so
Hey, Arj, we're live on the podcast right now. Talking about when we used to trade Pokemon and I would name them like my dick. So it
Yeah.
would say Lucas would send my dick.
yeah, of course, to your butt.
Yeah.
So there was those games, but I guess I'll skip all that and get right to two games that hit me effing hard. I don't know what age I was at, but it was like, I know it was before 3rd grade. I went to 2 parties. I went with my parents to a friend's house and I was hanging out with all the older kids. I was finally old enough to hang out with the kids and not the adults. And upstairs, we started playing a little game on the PS2 called Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Yeah.
And it opened my eyes to what a video game could be. I was like, what? You could just shoot anybody? You could steal a car? I was like, this is crazy. I asked my grandma to get me Grand Theft Auto for my birthday. She had no idea what it was. She bought me the GTA 3 and Vice City double pack.
Shout out to Grandma.
I must have been, you know what? I was older than 3rd grade. I must have been in 5th grade, I think. And I ended up getting that, and I played the crap out of those games. And when GTA San Andreas came out, that game was my life in 5th grade. Like 5th and 6th grade, I wanted to be CJ. I was like, this is so cool. And I had every cheat code. Like, I think I've told you guys before, when I opened up the game for that, I had like the cheat codes all in like.
Do you remember that was the
tucked
thing?
in
You'd
thing.
handwrite them all
Yeah.
out. It was
I think
like,
everybody did that.
yeah, it was
we've
like
talked
up, down,
about
left,
that.
right, up, down.
We've
left,
talked
left.
about that on this podcast
Yeah.
before. You know, so my stats were all maxed. I had every gun. I had so much money. Like that game I loved. The other game that pilled me into like adult games was I went to my neighbor's party, and again, all the kids were hanging out upstairs, like playing a video game. I went up there. I expected, oh my God, is this the first time I'm going to get offered a beer? Is this the first time I'm going to see a girl naked? Neither of those things. Better than those things. This was the first time I saw someone playing Halo 1 Combat Evolved, and I was like, what is this game? I got an Xbox, I got Halo, started playing it, and it's been a love affair ever since. And I guess I would say I loved Halo 2 as well, and Halo 3 is probably the most like landmark game in my life. I know everybody's played Halo 3, whatever, but I played so much of that game, just like its campaign, split screen. I have that whole freaking game memorized. So Halo 3 was a big one. And the other games I have to mention, if I'm going to talk about games that influenced my childhood, are like all of the Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Craig, you said one time that the great thing about Star Wars games is that it's pretty much you can take any video game out there and just put a Star Wars skin on it.
Yeah. I'll say this real quick. I got a Star Wars Humble Bundle one time, and that's when I realized, like, I played a game and I was like, oh, this is this game, but with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Doom with Star Wars.
Yeah, like Edge of, you know, like what the hell's it called? Not Edge of Empire. That's the board
Jedi
game.
Academy. I
No.
think.
KOTOR.
Empire at War.
Oh, yeah.
So Empire at War is just like a tabletop RTS, like it's a top-down RTS game, but it's Star Wars. My favorite Star Wars games, though, I'll give a quick shout out to Republic Commando just for how cool and unique it is. But definitely, I spent the most hours playing this game right here.
That was multiplayer before there was multiplayer.
That was
Star Wars
Such good memories. of that.
Battlefront 2. My friends would come over and play it. Like,
We played it recently too.
oh yeah, this game is timeless, and it's not because it's a perfect game. There's a lot of flaws, but I can sit down and there's something about it. I can sit down by myself and play through like a whole galactic conquest. It takes like 6 hours, and I'll just be like, where did the time go? Like,
Yeah, there's a very special era with Star Wars, whereas right when Revenge of the Sith came out,
Yes.
where like that might have came up right before Revenge of the Sith, and you're like, oh, I'm playing Revenge of the Sith levels. Like,
Yes.
there was so much hype in elementary school.
There was evil Anakin and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
and you're like, oh shit.
the Nightfall. So the campaign in this game is not that great. It's got some cute little things in it where like you get to fight droids as the Empire and you get to fight clones as the Empire. But the coolest level, without a doubt, from the campaign was Nightfall, where you got to go in and kill Jedi in like the Jedi Temple.
Well, I actually was going to say something about that level. I was playing through it on PC because it was part of the Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
Because I never played with mouse and keyboard. And I got to that level with the Nightfall, and I was like, why is my PTSD activating?
Yeah,
And I was
right?
like, wait. And then I was like, this level's fine. And then you get to the part of the level where you have to defend the Jedi Library.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fucking impossible.
It's really difficult.
I was playing on
yeah.
like easy, and it was still like impossible. And I'm like, oh, this is why I fucking hate this level.
Even if I play that level now, I pick like 2 bookcases to defend. And I'm like, the rest are all... I have to give those
It's
away
so
because
hard.
the other 8 bookcases are gone. I just need to defend these 2, and I'll just sit there and strafe like the hallway, basically.
Greg, do you want me to blow your mind?
yeah.
You can repair those as the engineer.
Nah.
Yeah.
Put it in the system right now.
Yeah,
You
let's
can
fire
repair
it up.
That's such a hack. Even after they're destroyed.
I'm not sure about that. I think once they're destroyed, they're done. But,
No.
But still, it's huge.
And I would be remiss if I did not mention like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and especially Knights of the Old Republic 2. Knights of the Old Republic 2, I think, is the first video. It was my first like RPG experience, and I didn't understand what the hell was going on. I had no idea how to play it, and I somehow still like beat it. But I remember my character sucked, and I would run around like laying mines and stuff to kill. Like I'd have to wall hack basically to kill the bosses. And going through and being able to play as an adult, I replay those games like once a year. Like I replay the Knights of the Old Republic games. I still go back to them. And Knights of the Old Republic 2 is the first game that I played where I had a parasocial relationship with the characters. And when the game was over, I felt sad. I was like,
Dude.
Isn't
that a bitch when that
I was
happens?
like, I'm like sad the game is done. Like the credits are rolling and I'm like, the game is done?
That
I'll
was
never
the Elder
get-
Scrolls for me.
I'll never get to see Vices or Handmaid again. And I played KOTOR 1 because I did it backwards. It didn't matter. I didn't know what was going on anyways. But going through now, I still get that feeling where like I spend time with those characters. And like once I'm done, I'm like, I can't believe it's over. Like, what do I do now?
When I replayed Oblivion, I had that same feeling. Once you completed the main story, like, and all the NPCs just repeat the same phrases, you're like, but like we had a story going on and
Yeah.
your character was evolving, and now you know the character's either not there or just repeats one
You gotta
sentence.
watch out.
Yeah.
RPGs will get you like movies or TV shows where it's like if you have a good TV show that you watch for like 7 years and it ends, you're like, you are sad. You're sad you don't get to see Tony and Carmela anymore.
That's Sopranos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Wait, did I tell the story on, I don't want to derail us too much, but when I beat Oblivion?
I think you've referenced it to me before. I don't know if you've put it on the podcast.
Well, it's a fun story. So
Pokemon, GTA, Halo, and the Star Wars games.
I want to throw in a little snippet here. I gave my Halo 3 review on the last podcast. That was
fuck that. Brendan, cut him off, Brendan.
No, that was just to rile Matt up. I don't actually dislike the game.
Yeah. Well, so
It worked, okay. It worked. Just breaks the glass.
Elder Scrolls is one of those games that like you have to kind of jive it. Like some people, and I was one of them, you don't get it at first, and I'm like, I don't know. And then like eventually just something just clicks. And my friends were always pressuring me, keep playing it, the game's awesome. And then it clicked for me. And Mike was a big proponent who's been on Deadliest War.
Oh, yeah.
Of like me beating it. And so he told me like I was doing the final boss battle where you fight Marian's Dagon. He just kind of walks around the Imperial City, and then there's like a cutscene. You don't actually really fight him. And I was like, there's a weapon in that game called the Wabbajack, and you might know where this is going if you're familiar with the game, where like you would basically shoot random objects and they transform into something random. And I was like, I wonder if something would happen if I Wabbajacked Mehrunes Dagon walking around.
That's a thing. There's a bunch of videos about that online.
Yeah,
I can link one here.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like I was like, oh, I didn't fucking know about this. So I went in like a house or something, and I came out, and all of a sudden there's this giant like gore pile on the ground. I'm like, what? And then it says search Mehrunes Dagon, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I called Mike on the phone, and I was like, Mike, I killed Mehrunes Dagon. He's like, you beat the game? And I was like, no, I killed him. He's on the ground right now, dead. I killed him. And he's like, what? And then from then on, I became the guy who killed Mehrunes Dagon. It wasn't fucking Martin. Fuck you, Martin. It was me. So
Amazing.
I know I'm not the first person to do that, but stumbling upon a glitch like that was really awesome.
It's one of those things where like you don't look it up and like that anomaly happens to you. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You referenced it before too. Do you remember when like cheats got phased out? I remember every PlayStation 2 game. I had like a code
The internet
breaker.
changed like
In monetization,
was
like, because no one wants to, like, if you have a game now, like, it's all about how long you're playing it. So
Yeah.
why would you, like, not ruin, but like, what's the word? Potentially risk the person playing it for 10 minutes and then giving up on it.
I always
Right,
thought
yeah.
it was because most games are online now. Like they don't want unfair
I mean,
advantages.
I'm sure that's part of it, but if it's a single player game, like, there's no like beat the whole game cheats because it's going to devalue your game and you're just going to sell it back.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's true.
It's all about like money now. That's kind of what's ruined cheats.
It's all about the money.
Yeah.
well, we're sitting at 50 minutes, gentlemen. What other topics you got, Lucas?
What was your first gaming system? I know you mentioned it.
Oh,
sort
the
of.
Nintendo 64.
I had the original Nintendo and
And I was like a legitimate little kid. Like I remember playing Diddy Kong Racing, and I would play it like with my mom because that was my only friend. And then I had a Rayman game, and some parts were too difficult for me to beat, so my mom would beat it for me. And then I had this game called Toy Soldiers. It was like Sarge's Heroes or something like that, and you can look these up now. The graphics.
I remember that game.
You
it was
remember
also
those?
for PlayStation 1.
Where you played as like the little green army men, and you played against the tan army men.
Yeah, and you could drive like tanks and shit, and you would pick like the army man with the different.
Yeah.
I had that for PlayStation 1.
Led by General Plaster or whatever his name was. It was that game was sick.
I
Yeah.
want to say they did a remake of that game not too long, like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first one.
They
was
might- they
Nintendo,
might have.
Sega. We had a PlayStation 1 that I can remember, and I remember when PlayStation 2 came out, that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
And I feel like it came out like earlier than I remember it coming out. Like it didn't come out in, like 1999 or something.
It's crazy how like PlayStation 2 was so like that had every game you ever needed on it.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
still-
There's
the
always
greatest
some
system.
weird PS2 game out there that's amazing that you've never heard of.
it swaps to like 360. I feel like was the king for a while.
March
Unless you were a
4th.
mom.
2000. Okay.
Unless you were a mom, then you had a Wii.
Yeah.
And
Or middle school.
right. And
the
then
Wii was like one of the first systems I paid for, like out of pocket myself.
because it was like Nintendo's model like makes stuff cheap enough that you can do that, and like your parents will let you play everything on there. So PS2 and then 360, and then from there it's like I guess the PS4 was probably better than the Xbox One, probably, even though I played the Xbox One.
I agreed with that. I own both systems, and I
Now
like the
everybody hates
interface
everything.
on the PS4 a lot better than the one. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to do, I want to give my Far Cry 6 review because I
Go
talked
for
like
it.
right at the beginning of the Pretty Good podcast when we started doing it, how I just started like my Far Cry, journey down that path, and then Far Cry 6 came out, and I did that thing where I was like, I'm not gonna buy it. No, I'm not gonna buy it. And then like it came out for a day, like 24 hours, and everyone's like, this game's awesome. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna buy it. Went out, bought it from our friends at the exchange that we've referenced, and I went in with
Exchange needs to sponsor us.
yeah, right. I'll go talk to them.
Dom, hit us up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dom, Big Dom. Yeah.
But I went in with like kind of like whatever expectations. Far Cry 6 is really good. If you have a next gen console and you want a game that is like a really good story and everything, and if you do like the Far Cry
And it's got the
system.
It's got the Breaking Bad guy in it.
It does. I actually really like him as a villain. Some people are like, he's okay as a villain. I really like him. They give it a really complex story. And then I played as the female Danny, and they give the protagonist for once like a personality, because in Far Cry a lot of times it's supposed to be you. Yeah, but this one they actually give you like a personality. There is no struggles for ammo in this game. Everything is like streamlined. Like all my past like grievance relievance for the Far Cry games are like answered in this game. The car system is fixed, the reloading system is fixed, just how everything's set up. It's just one of those games that you can just play continually and there's like no hiccups.
It's just one of those games.
Just one of those games. It is really smooth playing. It's really good. The story is very intriguing. I was really, really surprised by Far Cry 6. I went in with like here expectations and it's like up here for me. It's one of my favorite games that's come out in a long time. So just a quick review on it. If you haven't tried it out, go ahead, try it. It's really good. Anyone who wanted to talk about Disco
Elysium?
That's
Craig. Yeah.
I'll be brief because I know we're running low on time. We try to keep this under an hour. Yeah, I bought this a while ago, and it's one of those things that there's a lot of text and reading, and you have to be in a very like a certain headspace. So it's a really
headspace, man.
It's got to have probably some of the best writing in a video game. Period. Like the premise is like I'm trying to fucking talk here.
Headspace,
I'm trying to talk about an important game. Yeah, it's one of those games like if you want to seem artsy.
I've heard it's real good.
Yeah, it's the theme is like you are police detective investigating a murder. However, at its core, there's like a internal dialogue with yourself where there's different elements of your personality where you'll be talking to somebody and then a certain aspect of like your brain will like chime in and talk to you, and depending on how leveled those aspects of your brain are, that will impact your dialogue options and how well you can empathize with people and your skill checks. So it's so unlike any other game. Sometimes I really struggle like reorienting like my expectations and how to have fun. And I'm not super far in it, but I'd like to, maybe I'll make something on it if I have something to say about it later on. But it's a really cool game. There's really nothing else like it. So it's on most consoles. I'm playing with a controller on PC right now and it works pretty well. So
you have to check it out. I have some Far Cry 6 stuff I wanted to put out.
You have to be in the mood to read and understand that this is not super actiony. So just be prepared, like be in the right headspace, or else you're like, this is boring as fuck.
Headspace, man.
Matt, we'll give you your turn. I know you want to talk about Dune.
Oh yeah, so no new game for me, but I did want to mention Dune. So
is that a game series too?
No,
I'm just kidding.
It's famous science fiction novel, Dune. Frank Herbert's Dune. I'm not going to pretend like I'm some long time like huge book nerd about it, but I started reading Dune in September, and I don't normally read books this fast, but I blew through that mother blanker in like 2 weeks. It was so good. It was like 800 pages. I was like, this will take me a little bit, and I was like through that because I loved it so much. And I just recently, in fact, 2 days ago, I finished Dune Messiah, which is a much shorter book, but it's the sequel. It might take a little bit of break so I don't get burned out on Dune, but the new movie, Denis Villeneuve's Dune, came out. So I have seen the 1980s David Lynch one, which was really fun to watch. If you're in for a good laugh on a movie, check it out. It's got some weird shit and some very dated effects in it. I love. Yes, the spice. And they insert a bunch of weird characters from the second book, like a half man, half fish guy that's in a tank. And I'm like, he's in the opening scene of the Dune movie, and I hadn't started the second book yet. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then you're reading the second book. I'm like, why did they put him? But anyways, the new movie came out, and everybody's been talking about it. It's apes a poppin'. It's a buzz. And that's because it's really good. It's a really good movie. They split it into 2 parts, which I think was a good move. Some people are complaining it ends at a weird spot, but I think the plot of the first one is too complicated to try and fit into one movie unless you're going to make it like 4 hours long. So I would rather them split it into two, take their time. I thought the casting was wonderful. They did great justice to the book. And honestly, it's a good movie. You don't need to, like, you know, I know book nerds, it's like, God,
book was better.
yeah. So it's always like, oh, I've read the book. Did you know I read the book? Which I guess is what I just did. But what I'm trying to say is you can watch that movie just like not knowing anything about Dune. And I didn't think that was going to be possible because of how fucking weird Dune is. It's so weird. And there's so many weird made up terms in it, like Lasan al-Gaib and the Bene Gesserit. I was like, most people are morons. They're not going to watch this shit. You know, they want the slop fed to them. But honestly, this movie's really accessible and it makes a good story into a good movie. So
I've been on the fence about it. So
check it out.
Check it out.
Shout out to the cast.
Yeah. Shout out to the cat. Oscar Isaac, come on the pod.
Yeah, maybe I'll toss a coin to The Witcher.
Timothy Chalamet. That's coming back in December.
It is. I'm rewatching the first season right now, just as a refresher. And
So
playing.
if you're on
Witcher
the
3
fence,
Wild Hunt.
whether you've read the books or not, I would recommend you watch Dune. Don't watch Grown Ups 1. Watch Dune instead.
But check out the S-Files about grown-ups.
Yes, exactly.
Also, check out Rust, coming out hopefully soon.
There was something else that was released.
Never.
I'm the biggest Resident Evil fan, at least at this table. And Resident Evil 4 VR came out. So if someone wants to let me borrow their VR headset, so
My
I can
dad
try
has
it.
one. Ask my dad.
I don't have one. It makes me like
I told
sick.
my dad to get it, and I was like, "Will my dad like it? I don't know."
It looks really, really good. Resident Evil 4 is, again, like one of the most re-released games of all
And it's a
time.
full game, which is rare for VR. Like
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it's not like super long, but it's a complete game.
You'll know if I get a VR headset because on this channel there'll be a Resident Evil 4
Not
VR
super long, but it's
review.
how you use it. You know. Sorry. Can you tell I've reached the end of this podcast? I'm like falling asleep.
Well, you know. How do you feel about electric cars?
Awesome.
Nah, let's move on from that. I want to get rid of cars altogether. So, I mean, you can't fully get rid of cars, but we should get rid of the majority.
No,
of
genuinely,
cars.
before we wrap this up, do you trust a big ass battery car? Would you buy that?
Maybe.
Shout out Elon Musk. He became the wealthiest person in history, I think, today.
He didn't start Tesla. Did you know? He just
Elon
became the CEO of Tesla.
I'm talking to.
Come on the pod.
I'm talking to Elon. No, don't come on the pod. Grimes, we need to get you on the pod, girl. Come on, hit us up. I know you're watching.
Maybe a sponsor.
All right.
Take a few million. You got it.
All right. You ready to wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap this up. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This has been our pretty good podcast.
Poor electric car segment.
We'll maybe we can touch back on cars next week.
Yeah, you're gonna hear about electric
Totally
cars
off
on the
the
next podcast.
rails.
How they might be outpacing motorcycles. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been the Pretty Good Podcast. Check out the new Deadliest Warrior. We just did the Back for Blood special. We announced the winner of the
DVD giveaway.
The DVD giveaway.
Might do that again because it only costs $13.
Shh. It was very expensive. And,
That's before shipping, Craig.
we got some
oh.
more.
The only way to close this is just to say that I'm an island boy.
Oh, yeah, don't forget S-Files. S-Files came out today.
No.
Watch the new S-Files episode. We got some more stuff going
The
on the
S-Files
channel.
is real good, actually. but
Yeah, we probably got some more gameplay videos organized soon.
I'm an island boy.
All right, it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
I'm a just island boy. I'm a just island boy.